Hello and welcome to this video. In this video we're going to look at example 3.18. It says two students, Kai and Cooper, from different high schools, wanted to find out who had the highest GPA when compared to students in his school. Which student had the highest GPA when compared to other students in their school? So we have two different students. We have Kai and we have Cooper. Kai has a GPA of 2.85, where the mean GPA for the school is 3.0, and a school standard deviation of 0.7. Cooper has a GPA of 77, where his school GPA is an 80, and the standard deviation is 10. So we're starting to build into the idea of z-scores, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm not going to define this in terms of z-scores, but what I do want to do is sketch the graph of two different distributions. One of them we will sketch for Kai, and the other one, maybe I'll change the color for this. I'll sketch that for Cooper in a different color. Well, we know that the mean for Kai's distribution is a 3.0, and I'm making an assumption here, but we don't even know if this is true or not. This graph could be, who knows what it could look like. It could look something like this. It doesn't really matter what the graph looks like. We want to know how far from the mean are both Kai and Cooper. So Kai has a grade of 2.85. So Kai's actual grade is lower than the mean. Let's draw a similar picture here for Cooper. We'll change the color. We'll go pink for Cooper. Why not? Make it a little bit there. All right, so Cooper's grade. Again, we don't know if this distribution is normal distributed, symmetric, bimodal. We don't know anything about it. So I'm not going to worry about that. The mean for this, the weighted average for Cooper's grade, or Cooper's class rather, is an 80. Cooper scored a 77. So his grade is also below the mean. We want to know how many standard deviations away from the mean are their grades. So let me go back to blue here. We know that Kai's grade is 0.15 GPA points below the mean. And we know that Cooper's grade is 3 GPA points below the mean. But that doesn't really mean much to us. So what we can do is we can try and figure out how many standard deviations let me move this down a little bit. How many standard deviations below the mean is Kai's grade? So what we're going to do here is we're going to take the 0.15 and divide it by 0.7, which is the school's standard deviation. I'm going to grab my calculator. And I'm doing these calculations off screen, but you're welcome to follow along and use your calculator to confirm these. So Kai's grade is 0.214 standard deviations below the mean. Let's do the same thing for Cooper. We know that Cooper is 3 points below the mean. So let's find out the same question. How many standard deviations below the mean is Cooper's grade? So we could do the same thing. 3 out of 10, which would be 0.3. Again, the 3 represents the 3 points below the mean. The 10 represents the standard deviation for the school. So 3 out of 10 would be 0.3. So Cooper's grade is 0.3 standard deviations let me make a little more room below the mean. So that means that Cooper has a lower GPA compared to his class. I can't spell apparently. Let's try that again. Compared to his class because his GPA is more standard deviations below the mean, right? If we look, 0.3 is a bigger number. Since both scores are below the mean, the one with the bigger standard deviation, sorry, the one with that is more standard deviations, that's the correct way of saying that, more standard deviations below the mean has a worse grade. So Cooper did worse than Kai